Welcome to this introduction to the Bolder Healthier Champions programme in Birmingham. I'm Dr. Justin Varney, I'm the Director of Public Health for Birmingham City Council, and the Bolder Healthier Champions programme is overseen through the public health team at Birmingham. So without further ado, let me talk to you about our programme and how we'd like to get involved in creating a bolder, healthier city in Birmingham and helping to work with us to make a difference in the communities that you care about across Birmingham. So Bolder Healthier Champions came out of our learning through the COVID pandemic. So some of you watching this will have been involved in the COVID Champions programme, and over 890 people across Birmingham took part over the pandemic, helping us get information to keep themselves, their families and their communities and their workplaces safe. And it was really valuable to us, not just giving the information out, but also hearing from them what their concerns were, what their issues were, and helping us shape and collaborating with us to help shape our thinking and how we did things and needed to do things differently during the pandemic. So coming out of the pandemic, we don't want to lose that. And so that's why we've reformatted the approach into Bolder Healthier Champions. The Bolder Healthier language fits with our city strategy, Bolder Healthier City Birmingham, Bolder Healthy City for Birmingham. And that's under the Health and Wellbeing Board. The framework for a Bolder Healthier Birmingham has a series of topics and themes, and you can read that through the link underneath the video. But the key bit is it's about improving the health and well-being of our citizens, of making a difference every day to the people that we love and care for. So Bolder Healthier Champions is a voluntary programme. By getting involved, you're volunteering to take part and giving us your time for free to help create a healthier city. We'll support you through a series of monthly webinars. There'll be newsletters, resource kits, but there'll also be opportunities to get more involved if you're particularly interested in an area. So we will also have some project areas where we'll have active collaboration with the Bolder Healthier Champions, helping us wrestle with how do we solve some of the really big problems affecting our city. It's not just about information giving, it's also about us listening. And one of the really great things about Bolder Healthier Champions is that once a month we'll have a listening session with you, where you're able to raise issues, concerns or topics that you want us to help provide more information about in the future. You can, of course, email at any time through the Champions programme, and we do respond to those emails as quickly as we're able to. Over time, we're looking at how we can create pathways from being a Bolder Healthier Champion into opportunities such as being a peer support worker, being a community researcher, but also into pathways in health and social care. We know for some people, taking part in a programme like this is the start of their journey into paid employment. But for others, it comes at a point in their life where they're retired or they're a student, and it's about giving back. It's about being part of a community and helping to protect the people you love, helping everyone in the city to live a healthier life, live a longer life, and live a happier life. So I hope you'll want to get involved in Bolder Healthier Champions. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about how the programme is structured. So one of the things we learned through the COVID Champions programme was that having a one-size-fits-all didn't really work that well, and that we need to think a little bit more intentionally about how we support people that are champions in their communities compared to people who are champions in the workplace. We also needed to put in a bit more dedicated support to enable young people who want to be champions, and making sure we're framing the stuff correctly and we're also tailoring it to their needs. The final element that we built into Bolder Healthier Champions, which is new, is what's called Bolder Healthier Champions Plus. And that's really for professionals working in health, social care or education, or people working in voluntary organisations aligned to these, where they've already got a lot of training about how to interact with people, how to have supportive conversations. So we're slightly tweaking the approach so that we're giving them the skills to embed the health information into their day-to-day practice. So the four pillars of Bolder Healthier Champions are Bolder Healthier Community Champions, Bolder Healthier Workplace Champions, Bolder Healthier Youth Champions, and Bolder Healthier Champions Plus. And you can belong to one or more different strands of the Bolder Healthier Champions programme. You don't have to be restricted to one, but it is important that you start off with one. You start thinking about what most speaks to you and your particular skill set, the community you're connected to, and how you want to make a difference. Bolder Healthier Community Champions is focused on sharing information and feeding back from particular communities. Now, we think about communities in three ways in Birmingham. We think about communities of place. So that might be that you are connected to the community in Erdington or in Rubery and Redknapp. It might be that you're connected to a community of identity. So that might be a faith community like our Islamic or Sikh community, or it could be our LGBT community or one of the communities of our disabled people across Birmingham. The third is communities of experience, and the easiest way of thinking about this is communities of homeless people, but there are also people that form communities because they're affected by particular health conditions or someone in their family is. So they come under that umbrella of communities of experience. So however you define your community, being a community champion in the Bolder Healthy programme is about connecting and disseminating information, but also feeding back from that community into our public health work. Bolder Healthier Workplaces is a bit more defined. So the Bolder Healthier Workplace champions are focused on sharing information and feeding back for people in employment in workplaces. It's about supporting you as employers, but also as employees to really create workplaces that are healthier and support people to thrive in them. It's a broad approach, so we're not saying you've got to be for a particular size of business or a particular sector, but there are lots of resources and toolkits that are very workplace specific, and that's why we've developed this strand of Bolder Healthier Workplace Champions to support those of you who want to make a difference in your workplace, to have a group of peers and people that you can connect with who are interested in the same space. Bolder Healthier Youth Champions, it's kind of what it says on the tin. Really, this is about supporting young people from teenage years up into the early 20s who want to make a difference to the health and well-being of their peer groups. Now, some of them may also want to make a difference in the schools or the education settings they're in, like universities or colleges, and that's great as well. But we're slightly tailoring the information for the Bolder Healthier Youth Champions to make it more appropriate for young people, but also to resonate with them better. One of the things we learned through working with young people in the COVID Champions programme was they really like social media and they know how to use it a lot better than we do. So actually doing some collaborations with the Bolder Healthier Youth Champions will be a really important part of this programme. The final group, as I said, is Bolder Healthier Champions Plus, and this is designed to support professionals working in the health or social care field or in education. It's about supporting them to integrate the ideas of making every contact count into their training and into their daily practice, and embedding brief advice or very brief advice on health and wellbeing topics into what they're doing every day. To be a Bolder Healthier Champion Plus volunteer, you have to have completed some additional e-learning from what everyone else does, which is around a very specific set of skills called making every contact count. So we are tailoring the information for Bolder Healthier Champions Plus slightly differently because it is designed to be fitted into people who are already doing development work, consultation work, clinical work with patients, with citizens and with clients. So they are a slightly different group from those of us that are there connecting to our friends, our social networks and our communities in different ways. So our offer to you. What do you get being a Bolder Healthier Champion? Well, on a monthly basis, we'll be rolling out a series of webinars. They'll all have the same theme, so each month we'll take a particular topic. So we're kicking off with a soft launch in September around physical activity. You know, we've all been inspired by the Commonwealth Games to get a little bit more active and seen some wonderful athletes, but sometimes that elite sport can feel a long way away from everyday life in Birmingham. So over September, we'll be releasing some webinars, which you can watch when you've got some free time, but also holding some discussion forums, sending out a newsletter with some resources and some materials to help you have conversations with the people you care about in the communities that matter to you around how they can become more active and connect them with some of the great stuff that's available across Birmingham. In October, we're going to be focusing the monthly theme on the cost of living crisis. There's a lot of work going on at the moment, and we want to be able to share that with you in October so you can play your part in helping everyone make it through the next couple of months, because we know it's going to be difficult and there's a lot of information out there. So by bringing it together for the Bolder Healthier Champions, we hope that it makes it more accessible to you, just makes it a bit easier to get that information into people's hands where it can make a difference to them. We're still working out what November's going to be, and by then we're going to be starting to talk to you about what topics do you want to focus on and do you want to pick up. So each month there's a different topic, there are webinars, there's a newsletter. Everyone gets the same newsletter, but it has the sections for the different champions in it, where there may be some specific resources. So you get to see what everyone else is doing as well. And we also have this monthly feedback session where you can tell us about your concerns, raise issues, any questions, etc. So we can learn with you and we develop the program with you. Annually, we're going to have a big conference. We're going to be aiming to celebrate people, but also to share some of the learning and pick up on some of the skills development stuff that can only really be done face to face. The aim of Bolder Healthier Champions is to make it as easy for you as possible to integrate this into your daily lives. And that's why we're not fixating on everyone needs to be at a webinar at this time in the evening or this time in the day. We'll be recording the webinars for you to make sure you've got access to them at time that makes sense for you. And then there'll be some ad hoc opportunities. One of the things we did really well with the COVID champions was we worked with them when there were particular challenges. So, for example, when we were trying to roll out testing in communities, we talked to the champions and said, what do you think? What do you know from your communities? Go and ask some questions for us. Help us understand what you think is going to make a difference and going to work. And we're really keen to keep going with that methodology of collaboration. As I said before, there'll also be skills opportunities. There may be also opportunities to shadow some of the public health team if you want to find out a bit more about what we do and how we work. So what's the ask of you? Well, the ask of you is to volunteer your time to become a Bolder Healthier champion. And it's really an ask to give back to your community. You know, whatever your age, wherever you are, whatever you do, this is an opportunity for you to be part of making a bolder, healthier future for the city and supporting everyone to be that little bit better and achieve their potential in life. So to register, you sign up through the website, and at the end of the presentation, there's the link. We'll also put it underneath the video for you. Part of that, signing up to a code of conduct, which I'll talk about in a second. But we're looking for you to complete some e-learning. So that will just take a couple of hours, but that's part of the kind of entry program and the induction for champions to make sure everyone's kind of on the same page. We're all talking the same language and we've all got a similar level of understanding. It's a very easy piece of work, but it just helps get everyone up to the same page. The time commitment, well, it'll vary. Some of you will have lots of time to give, some of you will have a little, some of it will vary as things go on. But we're really asking people to commit to about 2 to 3 hours a month. It's about an hour of watching a webinar, reading materials, so you get up to speed on the topic, and then about 2 hours of interacting with your community, sharing that information. So you can give more, great. But what we'd like everyone to commit to is that 2 to 3 hours a month as a kind of baseline. And then we will be surveying the champions twice a year to get your feedback, to tell us what we can improve, tell us what we do better. So we're asking you to commit to just doing these 2 short surveys every year as well. So it's not a huge ask, but it can make a real difference. So I mentioned the code of conduct, but I just thought it was worth sharing with you now before you go to the website, because it is an important part and something that, again, we learned through the COVID champions. So by signing the code of conduct, you're agreeing as a volunteer that you'll share the information that we give you, that you won't edit it, you won't change it, you won't criticize government or partners. That's quite important because you're going out there with our kind of council logo on. So this isn't about being political. You know, if you want to be a political campaign, there's plenty of other places to do that. But, you know, health should be something that we all care about and we don't use as a political football. So, you know, we ask the champions to sign this code of conduct, sign up to that set of values, that we're not going to use this for our own personal agendas. We're not going to make it political, and we're not going to interpret the guidelines or the information that's shared. You know, where we're sharing information, for example, on the recommended amount of physical activity, that's based on a lot of science and a lot of experts. It's, you know, it's not up for debate on how much physical activity you need to do as a person, an adult or as a young person. What can be up for discussion is how to do it. And for some people it's football, for other people it's dance, for other people it's yoga and Tai Chi. You know, however you get physically active, brilliant, don't care. That's the bit where you have discussion, not about the 150 minutes that every adult needs. So that's why we have the code of conduct. It's just making sure, again, we all understand what we're doing, why we're about, and how to behave in this space, so we don't damage other people or damage the reputation of the program. So how do you sign out? Well, if you've got the slide deck and you've downloaded it, you can click on the hyperlink, it'll take you through. You can type out the full address, or we've put the link underneath the video for you in the text introduction as well. You can also just Google Bolder Healthier Champions Birmingham, and it will take you to the page on the council website where you can register and get involved. I hope you want to join us on this journey. Being a Bolder Healthier champion is about making a difference in your community. 2 to 3 hours a month is not a big commitment for any of us. And whether you want to be a champion in your workplace, whether you want a young person, you want to make a difference with your friends, with your family, or in your schools or your university. If you're in one of our communities and you want to really help the communities close some of the gaps we have, some of the inequalities, or you're a healthcare professional, social worker, a teacher who just wants a little bit of extra help on how to get those conversations right, how to make sure you're on top of the evidence base and what works, we've got a Bolder Healthier Champion program for you, and we'd love to have you join us. So please follow the links to the website, please get involved, and please become part of creating a bolder and better future for Birmingham. I look forward to joining you, meeting you at one of the Bolder Healthier Champion program meetings in the future. Thank you for your time.